Your essay question for Unit 1 comes in three parts. Part 1, explain the general theory of global warming. Part 2, explain the general theory of stratospheric ozone depletion. And Part 3, are there any interrelationships between the two problems? Global warming or climate change, my definition would be that it's an unnatural warming of the atmosphere, primarily as a result of the burning of fossil fuels and slash and burn deforestation. Fossil fuels would include oil, coal, natural gas. Deforestation, slash and burn deforestation, occurs a lot in the Amazon basin, in equatorial Africa, West Africa, and Indonesia. So when you perform these activities, when you burn fossil fuels or slash and burn forests, it releases CO2 into the atmosphere. CO2 is carbon dioxide. It is the principal greenhouse gas. When you slash and burn forests, it's kind of a double whammy, because when the trees are alive, they're taking in CO2. And when you burn them, they're no longer there to absorb CO2. And as you burn the forest down, that releases CO2 in the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide is the principal greenhouse gas. It is not the only greenhouse gas. There are others like NO2, some of the oxides of nitrogen, methane, which is CH4, carbon monoxide, CO, ozone here near the surface as an air pollutant will trap heat also. So very basically, the sun gives off shortwave radiation, which is absorbed by the earth. The earth then re-radiates it in the form of long-wave radiation, and that energy coming back from the earth, that's trapped effectively by some of these greenhouse gases. So what do we know for sure about global warming? We know for sure that when you burn oil and coal and natural gas, that releases CO2 in the atmosphere. And when you slash and burn forests, that releases CO2 in the atmosphere. So we know for sure that those gases trap heat. The theory would say that as the concentration of these gases goes up, and apparently it has been going up, that temperatures should also rise. And it appears that they are also rising. Maybe a couple degrees Fahrenheit since 1880. There are different numbers out there, but most of the evidence points to the fact that temperatures are rising on this planet. Explain the general theory of stratospheric ozone depletion. Ozone is primarily concentrated in the stratosphere. 95% of the ozone in the entire atmosphere is in the stratosphere, yet it makes up only a minute portion of the stratosphere's total volume. But stratospheric ozone is really important because it absorbs ultraviolet light that is coming from the sun. And long-term exposure to ultraviolet light can harm, particularly fair-skinned people like me out here in the sun, can damage our skin. It can damage our eyes, particularly maybe create cataracts on the lens of your eyes over time. It can damage the plankton in the ocean, which is the base of the marine food chain. And it damages some plants' ability to possibly perform photosynthesis. Now, there are certain chemicals that we've been using over the years that have disrupted the ozone layer. CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, were introduced back in the late 1920s. And we've used them for things like refrigerants, like Freon, for the making of styrofoam and foam products. Another group of chemicals that's thought to disrupt the ozone layer would be halons. And the primary use for halons that I'm aware of has been for fire suppression in the past. We've come up with some safer substitutes, fortunately, at this point. And we've come up with some safer substitutes for many of the chlorofluorocarbons also. Are there any interrelationships between the two problems? Well, they're both created by humans, would be one. And another one that's interesting, when you disrupt the ozone layer, that allows more shortwave radiation, more energy to come in from the sun. And that energy is absorbed by the earth, and then it's re-radiated in the form of longer wave radiation, which is trapped so effectively by carbon dioxide and some of the other greenhouse gases. So the more we disrupt the ozone layer, the more energy comes in from the sun, the more carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and the oxides of nitrogen and ozone and so on that we put into the atmosphere, the more trapping of the heat that there will actually be. Okay, so I think those are a couple interrelationships. If you can come up with some more, that would be great. So on your exam, I want you to type out the vocabulary words and their definitions. I want you to type out the questions and the answers on the study guide. And of course, type out your essays. I believe on the essay, I asked for a couple sources, citations, and you can use me as one, this YouTube video, but please use something else and type out a complete citation at the bottom for me. Okay, beautiful day. Maybe it's time for Big Dave to jump in the water. You guys have a good one.